what's happening, everybody? So today I'm putting in my laminate floors. I went ahead and put 6mm plastic and used waterproof tape on top of my subfloor, so it's totally waterproof now, which the instructions for my laminate floor call for. I've already built templates over here for the wheel well and the gas tank thing, and I made them with about 10mm or millimeter gaps on each side so that the wood can expand and contract. And I'm just working on the one over here now, and I wanted to show you real quick the way I'm doing it. So I set up this piece of cardboard, and I measured out the depth from in here to outside and measured that right there. And now I'm setting the straight edge about 10mm or whatever away from the very bottom of the wheel well, and I'm marking that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a big square, pretty much, or a triangle. I'm pretty much going to go like this, up to that point, and then all the way down, except for it's not going to be all squiggly like that. And then I'm just going to cut the thing out and keep sticking it in there and cutting more and sticking it in and cutting more, and get it to fit absolutely perfect on this, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, so templates are done, and they look awesome. I really took my time with them and got them done like exactly how I wanted them. And I should have done that before I did my subfloor, because that would have made that job a lot easier, and it would have looked better and been just like ever so slightly more structurally sound. So this is the laminate floor that I'm using. It was dirt cheap. It was 99 cents a square foot, and it looks good. That's why I got it. The downside of this is that because it's cheap laminate, it can be damaged by water easily. So I gotta be really careful not to spill water on this stuff. I did not spill water the entire time I was on the road for a whole year last time, so hopefully I have the same luck. I'm gonna put a rug over it where the kind of living area is, so I don't stick my feet on cold wood floor in the morning, and also in case I spill water, it'll soak it up real quick and I won't have to worry about it getting in the cracks. I was talking to Jake from Far From Populated. Make sure you check out his channel, by the way. He's got an awesome Astro stealth build. Really cool, like cabin-like interior. Really cool dude, awesome channel. Make sure you check it out. Anyway, he was telling me not to install my hardwood floor before I did all the cabinetry and everything, because I'm probably gonna dent it. But this stuff is really, really tough. I'm not worried about it. Okay. So the top part is a little darker, the bottom part is a little lighter. I want the lighter part on bottom. Now you can see all the way lined up on that, and it's too long. So what I'm going to do is flip it over and around so that I have my orientation the way I want it. Okay, that's how long it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is line this up like this way on both ends, and line the end up down here. So that's nice. Okay, I'm just going to measure this to make sure that these are right so that I get a nice straight cut. 4. Ooh, a little in. There's 4. 4. Bam. Okay. Now, I take my straight edge and I'm lining this part straight on the wood. So that's nice and flat. Oh. So now I run into trouble there because it's hitting. There we go. Now that can be a nice straight cut here, and it goes to this point, so the next piece of wood is going to have to cover this little part. Real quick disclaimer, I have never installed a hardwood floor before. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, I read the instructions like 20 different times, but I can't find any like super detailed how to install a hardwood floor or a laminate floor in a van video, so this is, I'm doing the very best that I can. But make sure that you check the comment section and read what other people have done, because I'm sure there's some experts out there on cutting floors. I'm just like a dude that likes to work on stuff, so take everything with a grain of salt here. But nonetheless, it's going to be badass. So for this next trick, I'm going to be using the circular saw. And the reason I'm using this instead of the jigsaw is because it makes really straight cuts really easily. So I've got this marked, and I'm just going to cut real quick. All right, so this one fits great. This bad mother hump is in place, and this one obviously sticks up, so I've got to use my my template here and cut it out. And what I'm going to do to measure that is I know that this point, the outside of the wheel well, has to touch the innermost point on this of the part that I cut out. So I'm going to subtract the top of this from the top of this. Oh, and by the way, I've got this one perfectly lined up exactly how I want it. All right, so I've got this piece lined up as straight as it's going to get. That cut was perfect, just the right length that I wanted. So I've got this in place. Now I need to cut out the wheel war portion for this one. And the way I'm going to do that is obviously I'm going to use my template here, but I'm going to subtract the very top of this, the very top of this, and that will give me the measurement of how deep from the inside of this piece of wood into the beginning of the template here I need to go. So I'm going to measure that real quick. And we have one line less than 2.5 inches, whatever that is. So with this piece still totally lined up, I'm going to reline up this template. I'm going to check both sides to make sure there's enough room. There we go. And one line less than 2.5 inches, right? Yep, let's still check it. Now I'll line up this side. And then I'll do the same thing down here. Okay, so now I'm just going to trace the inside of here and cut it out with the jigsaw real quick. All right, there it is. Okay, so I've gone in and I've swept everything out. I swept off these pieces of the new laminate really well, and now I'm lining this up. There's several ways to like put these in. You can have like the connecting piece and then the next one right in the middle, and then the connecting piece, next one right in the middle, or you can do this like zigzaggy, not zigzag, but like stepping down thing. I'm gonna do it this way. It just seems easier, and I don't care about the ziggy-zag whatever thing. So I'm gonna get a measuring tape and line this up exactly in the middle. All right, this guy's all lined up. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down this crack, and I'm gonna make sure that on every part the tongue fits between the groove. It's like a male like going into a female thing here. Just stick it in there. All right, looks like it's nice and tight. When I put the next piece on here, it'll hold it down even more. Yeah, this is gonna look great. All right, now that we got our sex joke out of the way, we've got to fill this hole here. So I'm gonna measure from the end of the underlayment. We got 19.5 inches. So I'm gonna measure out this bad boy right here from, how well can you see this? From this point, not under here, but on top. I'm gonna go back 19 inches. You know, those measurements are way different. This is why you make at least 2 measurements and then check. These are way off. Which one is the right one? That's 19. Yeah, that's way, how did I do that? It's 18.5. All right, so now we got 2 measurements. Gonna stick the straight edge along the flat part here to make sure I have a really nice straight line. Okay, these two match up now. All right, this whole row is in. Now I'm working on the next one, and I cut this piece of wood so that this line right here would match up with this one, so that it just looks uniform and it looks clean and nice, and that way the line that goes on this side will match this one. And I got kind of lucky, and the piece that was left over from this part fit almost perfectly on the back. I just had to trim it down a little bit. So I'm just going to keep cutting and trimming these things into place. It's pretty much the same process from here on out. Okay, something else I learned while doing this, I don't think I explained well, is you hold it up and get it in the tongue and groove. You got to kind of hold down where they connect, and then you slide it all the way down, and then you set it down and just kind of tap it with your palm a little bit. You don't hit it hard, you just kind of tap it. So when you're cutting this, you got to be really mindful of which end is the groove and which end is the tongue. Or maybe I got these the other way. No, I'm pretty sure this is the tongue. So Yeah, so I'm making sure that I'm just going to call this the tongue because that's what I think it is at the back end, and that the tongue is at the front, so I'm going to cut the front part. Now, because I don't want a little terrarium of mold growing in my van, and I also don't want to be breathing in all the sawdust, I am sweeping these pieces off before I stick them in, and I do the same thing inside the van. All right, we're really getting somewhere. So now we're all the way up here, and by the way, I got really lucky, and this is like, fits just right. This piece didn't take any cutting at all. Okay, so up here, the next piece is this, where it splits, which I've got right here, and it actually fit under all this stuff, but the split will end up being right here, which means a new piece has to begin pretty much right at this thing. So this part's going to be all covered up by a cabinet, and I wanted to have hardwood floor under there because when I reach in, I want to see it and I want it to look nice. So I'm actually going to skip the short part, and I'm going to stick this guy. Now here's the thing, you're supposed to have an 8-inch overlap between the seams, but I think it's going to be okay at this spot. If I just use one piece and I line it up with the wheel well and then cut it to go all the way down here, and it looks like everything under here is clear. It can stick under that. Oh, I really don't want to push that. Okay, so I'm going to cut it until all the way out here, and then I'm going to trim it with a jigsaw to fit that curve and fit this curve, and then cut out a spot for this. So what I need to measure is all the way from the beginning, where the rest of them are, all the way to the wheel well here. All right, so I cut it out just right. That looks great. But it fits under these parts back here. There's the seatbelt thing and this wiring harness. And in order to put it in, it has to sit up at this angle and then pop back in. So I think what I'm going to have to do is... How do I do this? I guess I have to take out a couple levels back here and pull this whole thing over and stick that in and slide it back in. Yep. First though, I'm going to cut out this part because it's going to have to sit under this wiring harness. All right, so I've got that part installed back there. It looks great. Now in order to get the one all the way down here, what I've done is I pulled out these two sides. Now I'm going to pull this whole thing over to the side so that I can snap that one down there in, and then push the whole thing back and put these two back in place, and then cut out the part that goes there and the part that goes just on the little tiny piece on the other side of the wheel well. You'll see it when I do it. The nice thing about this fully floating floor is it floats. So this piece was actually really easy to cut out. I just used that template I made for this part, and then I measured out all these parts, and just kind of drew out the little wheel well curve there. So now, let's slide this guy in the groove. All right, that looks good. Slide it down. Line it up down here. That feels good. All right, beautiful. All right, almost done. This is the second to last piece. So I've got this line right here, and I'm just gonna line this up with that because it's the perfect distance from the wheel well here. So I'm gonna line that up, and then I'm gonna line it up this way, make sure it's straight. Now, for the inside of here, I'm going to, you know what I'm gonna do first though? I'm gonna measure the distance from here to the old piece of wood. It's like 5 inches will give me the right depth. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut this down to 5 inches from the top. All right, so I've got my second to last piece cut out here. I had to cut it down this way and this way. And now I'm going to set it down, line that part up, and just drop it down. Boom. So check this out. I've actually got one more teeny tiny little piece to do, and I'll show you that in a second. Look at the back. Look at how crappy this looks. And the reason why is because these pieces I cut too short up there. I could have made them just an inch longer, and they would have come out all the way where these ones came out to, but there's going to be a piece of wood or metal or something that goes over right here that covers all of that up, so you won't see it at all. But it is something to be mindful. Make sure that your pieces can go all the way out, and they've got to be a certain length. You can't just add wood that's like 1 inch long or something. Check your directions, but I think mine's like 8 inches. End piece has to be at least 8 inches. And another thing to really keep in mind is which part's going down first. Is it the tongue or the groove? Because it's really easy to just set it in and drop it down one way, but the other way, like when I was putting these pieces back in, it was really difficult. So be mindful of that. And you'll have to just kind of experiment with it, because I don't know a good hard fast rule for it yet. So the last piece is right here, and this is totally because one of my cabinets is going to sit right here, and I want this leg to be the same level as the ones that go over here and back there. So I'm just going to find a little piece of scrap wood and cut it out to fit this perfectly, and call it a day. So I decided to take this big piece out because the line around the wheel well up there did not look perfect enough for me. And so I've got it out here now, and I actually already cut it out. And I've got a much nicer shape right here, and it's a little more to the outside. So this piece right here is the very last missing piece. And what I did is I just grabbed a piece of scrap and I stuck it in here. Come on, buddy. There we go. I stuck it in here and I lined it up with this line because I wanted to match this line, and it does. Look at that. And now I marked that, and I know it needs to go 3 inches and a quarter down. So now I can get this in. It's not going to go in the crack. Now I just measure this out, 3 1/4, draw a straight edge, cut it out, and stick it back in. All right, everybody, so that was way easier than I thought it would be, and it just turned out awesome. I got this last piece installed. Unfortunately, I deleted the original scene that I'm doing just now, so I'm recreating it right now. That's why I'm wearing different clothes all of a sudden. So yeah, I think that if you take your time and you think it through, and you take the advice that I gave in this video, and you also watch some other videos from people installing laminate and hardwood floors in houses, I think that anybody could do this. It was super easy. It looks amazing, and I could not be happier with this thing. So thanks for watching, guys. Love yourself.